Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Harrison. I am a 2-year veteran of the Western Governors University Cybersecurity and Information Assurance Bachelor's Program, and I'm here to give you guys my updated 2-year retrospective on how it's going. So to preface this video, I have a previous video I put out almost exactly a year ago now about my first year at WGU, and the feedback and reception on that video was just so amazing. I think it has like 6.6 thousand views now, which for my third YouTube video ever was like such a surprise to me. So thank you guys for those of you that watched that one and left amazing comments on it. Thank you so much for the feedback you left me. Now, I promised a while back that I would be back to kind of give you guys like an updated retrospective. It's been a while, I know. Sorry I'm late, guys. But I'm really excited to kind of go back over kind of how my first year went in this video, as well as leading into my second year and everything I've been up to since that last video. If you're looking for like the retrospective of my first video, you can find that on my channel still. I would suggest going back and watching that one again before starting this one if you're unfamiliar with kind of that first video. It'll just kind of help set the scene for what I'm going to talk about here. As a brief flashback of that first year at WGU, when I initially got started at WGU, I'd taken about a semester off of school. I was coming from a large traditional university, like a big SEC state school over here on the East Coast, and I'd kind of struggle a little bit in school at that point. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I first got to college. And, you know, with all the money I was paying and all the time and effort it took just to be there in person on campus, you know, I got really sick of just taking all these gen eds and not really enjoying what I was there to study, because I didn't know what I was there to study yet. I really hadn't determined my path. So after taking about a semester off of school to actually, funny enough, pursue my pilot's license, I decided that wasn't it for me either, and I really still wanted to work in some sort of technology field. So I found out about WGU, and I liked their model, their learning model, so much better than traditional school. You know, at WGU, it is the University of You. That's their tagline, their slogan or whatever, but, you know, it really is up to you to be successful at WGU. Like, you can work through the coursework at your own pacing, which for me personally, as somebody with, you know, ADHD and you know, not the best study skills 24/7, you know, it's definitely nice to not have as many kind of hard set deadlines and due dates on a lot of my work at WGU. So after kind of researching the degree, I decided to transfer in, and I brought not a ton of transfer credit with me. If there's one thing I could do, it would be go back in time and use a platform like study.com or maybe Sophia Learning to knock out a lot of those gen ed courses that I hadn't had a chance to finish while I was at that traditional state school. That is like one thing that if I could tell you guys right now, if you're even considering WGU, definitely go check out something like study.com, because you know, you're going to be able to knock out a lot of your gen ed credits and even maybe some of the more advanced technical courses in the cyber degree previous to even getting enrolled at WGU, which is phenomenal. Side note, as a caveat to that, make sure that you do that before enrolling at WGU, because once you've enrolled as a student, you can no longer transfer in any credits from outside institutions. So definitely check that out. As you're getting enrolled, you're going to want to talk to your guidance or your, enrollment mentor about that. There's like a term for it. It's different than your program mentor. But after you get enrolled, you're going to be paired with a program mentor. And last video, I said that your program mentor is like your lifeline, and that has held up in the second year too. I don't know what I would do without my program mentor. He's awesome. He's been such a huge help to me. But your program mentor is going to be kind of your first point of contact for pretty much everything at WGU. They're going to be the ones helping you schedule your classes, talk about like what order you want to take your classes in, everything like that. My program mentor reaches out to me weekly just to see how I'm doing, to check in. We have like monthly phone calls to kind of strategize and figure out where I'm at and what my timeline looks like. Back when I was at that traditional school, you know, I had like a counselor or like an advisor, and he was cool, but you know, he didn't really have the bandwidth to give me the support that I needed all the time. Like, you know, they have such a huge number of students at that school, and so, you know, when they don't have nearly as many advisors as they probably need to have, it's really hard for them to really keep up to date on, you know, who you are and what they need to help you with. At WGU, I've never had that problem. I am able to just email or reach out to my program mentor whenever. I always get a quick response. I can set meetings online, and he knows what I'm up to, right? It's just a lot more seamless at WGU. You know, it is very much tailored to you and how you want to do school, and that's a huge selling point for them. So anyways, just in the facet of like having a program mentor as opposed to like a traditional college advisor, and them being applicable to you in a lot more ways than just kind of scheduling your classes for you once a term. That's a huge benefit to me at WGU. But yeah, so after I got paired with my program mentor, he helped me get my courses booked, and I was able to start, get the ball rolling on knocking out, some of the gen ed credits I hadn't finished at that last school. Once again, if I could go back in time and use a different platform to knock those out previous to that, I would have. Big tip there, probably the biggest tip. That's how you see people online that are like, oh, like I knocked out this degree in 6 months. That's how they're doing it most of the time, is by knocking out a huge portion of their credits on other platforms for significantly less money. And then transferring those credits in. My first year went pretty well overall. I'm trying to remember exactly what I talked about in that first video. Once again, go back and check that out. But if I remember right, I was still kind of working part-time when I first got started with my degree. And so, I was kind of bouncing between doing school full-time, working part-time, and I didn't have necessarily the stability I probably would have liked as I got started. That being said though, WGU is tailored to fit your schedule. You kind of complete the work on your own time. And so I was able to continue working my part-time job while completing my courses, which was just hugely beneficial to me and my schedule. It gave me freedom of movement where I was able to, for the first time, kind of like go out of town, travel a little bit. As long as I had my laptop, I was able to complete school from like wherever I was at. One of the most important things I learned my first year is that because you have so much freedom with WGU and their learning model, you have to be careful not to take advantage of it. The biggest thing that I think my peers, like my fellow students, talk about across the board is that a lot of people really struggle with like kind of that self-discipline of, hey, I don't have like a set due date. How am I going to ensure that I get my stuff done? Well, that's something you're going to have to work on. Just in the same way that WGU gives you that freedom, it's also up to you to do your best not to take advantage of it. Like if you're able to set, and actually I think you have to be successful, set like a designated schedule, like a time management thing that's going to say, hey, this is how many hours I should be devoting to my coursework per day. This is how many hours I'll be doing per week. I think WGU even just added a tool like last week that actually gives you almost like an estimate of how long, based on like how many hours you're spending on the course material, it should, I guess, take you to finish the class, like something like that. So that's actually been really helpful too. But yeah, setting that schedule and being able to stick to that disciplined routine of like, hey, I need to get this much done by the end of the week or this much done by the end of the day, that's been huge. And even if you're somebody who does work full time, I wasn't working full time, so I had a lot of time to devote to my courses. But if you are, you can still come home at the end of the day and knock out 2 hours. By the end of the week, that's 14 hours a week? Yeah, so time management is by far the biggest skill that I think a lot of people have struggled with. I myself have also struggled with it. It was definitely kind of a learning curve, getting used to working part-time while doing school. And luckily, I've been privileged enough where I haven't always been working part-time. This past year, actually, we're going to get to that in a second because I'm going to talk about my first tech job. But anyways, so yeah, time management is by far the biggest thing that me and a lot of my fellow students have struggled with and talk about across the board. So coming into it, you're going to need to make sure that you either have that routine in place, like you have a written schedule that is going to help you be successful, especially in your first term. Or if you are somebody who's already really organized, just that you're sticking to that when you've got this added layer of freedom that you've never had before because you're not used to a school that functions like this. So that is a really big change that can take a little time to get used to. But once you get in the swing of it, like it all falls into place so easy, and it becomes, in my opinion, a much more seamless college experience than you're going to get at a big traditional school. Now, once again, I fluctuated from working part-time to doing school full-time. So in that sense, my experience was unique in that I feel like a lot of other people aren't going to be bouncing around like that. They're probably already going to be working full-time, and that's why they're interested, or they're just going to be a full-time student because they prefer that online remote learning model. And that's fine. Either way, WGU, the beauty of it is that you can kind of shape it to fit what you want to get out of it. But in that same sense, it's all in your hands. Like, you are responsible for what you're getting done and how fast you're moving through it. So if you're coming into WGU, make sure that you're being realistic about like, hey, am I somebody who is going to have the time and the devotion to finish this degree in like 6 months? There's people who have done it online, but I don't want you guys to be fooled. While it is possible, that is something that you have to be like so well prepared for. And I don't want to mislead anybody by saying that that is going to work for everyone, because I think the majority of us will probably not be as regimented as we expect ourselves to be. And that's okay. It's a process. You know, you're going to improve with it over time. I know for a fact that in the second year, I've gotten way more done than I got in my first year. That's for sure. So yeah, be mindful of that. 1 year at WGU is comprised of 2 terms, and 1 term is going to be 6 months each. So when I say I started my second year, what I really mean is I started my 3rd term at WGU, because you're going to pay that price, and that's essentially like unlimited school for that 1 term. You're able to knock out as many courses as you want to in a given term. Now, obviously, you need to talk to your course mentor about that and find out if it's going to be realistic for you, but it is very much possible. And the beauty of it is that I was able to knock out a lot of courses I already had prior experience or knowledge with very quickly. Now, starting my second year, which would have been my 3rd term at WGU, I started to kind of lose focus a little bit. You know, and once again, that's kind of what I was talking about at the get-go. As I'd been there for a while, I kind of started to slack off a bit. And that's where you really have to catch yourself, right? Because it's all up to you. There's nobody really holding you accountable other than maybe your program mentor who's going to reach out to you regularly. You know, it's all up to you. One thing I did find interesting about my second year, it's kind of unique in that I don't think this happens all that often, but my degree was actually updated. So I received a ton of heads up, by the way. It's not like they're just going to switch out classes on you on the fly. But they added like updated courses, a lot of them centering around AI. Now, don't get scared. It's nothing crazy. It's just kind of modernizing the degree to kind of fit what companies and businesses are looking for, so that when you're coming out of it, you have coursework that's going to be applicable to a lot of the buzzwords and skill sets that they're looking for these days. So in my opinion, it was a good thing. But that being said, you know, I advise anybody that is considering this degree to look very closely at the courses you're going to be taking, at the curriculum, and decide whether or not it is something that you feel like you could gain value from. Another big event during my second year at WGU has been that I actually got my first tech job. Let's go. I had a recruiter randomly reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I don't normally give all that much attention to stuff like that, but this one actually seemed really genuine, and I followed up with it, and it was a really large project for a healthcare organization that had purchased, I guess, another healthcare organization across my state. It was essentially kind of an IT help desk position at a large hospital here local to me. We were switching out basically like the entire tech infrastructure for the whole location, from the old systems from the old healthcare organization to the new systems with the new healthcare organization. I didn't have any internships or anything like that, so I did decide, it was kind of a trade-off, but I decided to take a little time off of school to complete that contract. And that was like a 3 or 4 month contract. I think I joined towards the latter portion of it, but the experience was incredible. And I feel very confident now coming out of that as I finish my degree at WGU, I'm going to have directly applicable experience to apply to a lot of other entry-level jobs. Flipping the script a little bit, it did kind of shake up my progress, but we're back on track now, and I've got the experience. I'm continuing to complete my coursework, which is going really well, mind you. I'm expecting to graduate this summer. I would imagine around July. I think my current term runs until August, end of August, start of September. Each term starts in the first of, like, I guess the month after your last. And so I think that'll be September for me. But I expect to finish well before that. I'm thinking July is going to be when I wrap it all up. But yeah, guys, so overall, my second year, it's gone great. I really don't have all that many complaints. It was certainly kind of a hold up for me when I tried to transition into working full time. That was a trade-off for me. I personally don't function all that well when I'm working while trying to do school. I kind of have to choose one or the other. I'm kind of ADHD like that. It's just how I am. Maybe some of you feel me on that. Maybe some of you don't. I wouldn't worry too much about it if you're somebody who's already working full time, because you're kind of just adding that school on top of your job, you know, in the time that you take to maybe watch a movie on Netflix after work, you're just knocking out some coursework, right? To eventually get that degree. And, you know, that's not that big of a trade-off. If anything, you'll feel better for being more productive. One thing I do want to do as I continue to move forward in my degree is to get more active in the WGU Cybersecurity Club. I am a member, although I don't really take advantage of any of the meetings or the labs that they do. They run like different capture the flag exercises, and they do kind of labs and demonstrations on different technologies and stuff. And it just seems really awesome. And that's definitely a resource at WGU I haven't taken advantage of enough. So moving forward, that is one thing that I feel like I could do a better job about, is using the resources that they do provide for me. On top of that, I also realized recently, like, I have so many subscriptions and stuff I pay for that I could be using my student discount for. Yes, you do get a student discount through your WGU student email, just like you would in any other school. And that is like definitely a money saver. You'd be very surprised. So yeah, that's just like one of the resources I feel like I haven't taken advantage of, but there's so much out there. They do give you so much value for what you're actually paying for in this degree that I would be hard pressed not to recommend it to anybody that's remotely interested. So yeah, guys, that is more or less kind of just a general update on my second year at WGU. Once again, if you're interested in finding out more about my actual start at WGU, I go a lot more in depth than that in that previous video. I think it's like a 1-year retrospective at WGU. I don't know, it's on my channel, go check it out. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and thank you guys so much again for the feedback and the response on that previous video, and I look forward to hearing what you say about this one. Thanks, guys. Peace.